You think it's too late to begin again. You lie awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of every year that has passed, every door you believe has closed, every chance you imagine has slipped through your fingers like sand. But what if I told you that right now, in this very moment, you are standing at the threshold of the most magnificent beginning of your life? Not tomorrow, not when circumstances change, not when you become worthy or prepared or finally have it all figured out. Right now. You think it's too late because you've been measuring time with the wrong instrument. You've been counting years when you should have been counting breaths. You've been mourning the past when you should have been greeting the eternal now. Time is not your enemy. Time is not even real in the way you think it is. The woman who at 57 walked into a boardroom and claimed the position that had eluded her for decades, she understood something you're about to discover. The man who at 43 picked up a paintbrush for the first time in 20 years and created beauty that moved souls, he knew what I'm about to share with you. The mother who at 62 felt love flow back into her marriage after seasons of silence. She remembered what you've forgotten. They all understood that there is no such thing as too late when you live from the end. You see, you've been living from the beginning, always starting, always trying, always becoming. But they learn to live from the completion, from the place where it is already done. You think you've wasted time, but there is no wasted time in the eternal now. Every moment you've lived, every breath you've taken, every tear you've shed has been preparing you for this understanding. The years you call lost were not lost. They were investment. The dreams you think have died were not buried. They were planted. The doors you believe have closed were never doors at all. They were walls you built with your own assumptions about what was possible at your age, in your circumstances, with your history. But assumptions can be changed in an instant. You think it's too late because you believe in linear time, because you think creation follows chronology, because you imagine that desire has an expiration date. But I tell you this, the same power that creates worlds does not consult a calendar. The same force that breathes life into existence does not count birthdays. The same love that moves stars and planets sees only one moment, this moment, and in this moment all things are possible. You have been hypnotized by the world's definition of timing. Society has told you when to fall in love, when to find purpose, when to pursue dreams, when to settle, when to give up. And you have accepted these limitations as if they were divine law. But they are not law, they are suggestion. And today you wake up from the suggestion. You think it's too late to begin again because you've forgotten who you are. You've identified with your history instead of your identity. You've confused your story with your truth. Your story says you're too old. Your truth says you are timeless. Your story says you've missed your chance. Your truth says every moment is your chance. Your story says the best years are behind you. Your truth says the best is always now. What if the years you think you've lost were actually years of preparation? What if the detours were actually directions? What if the delays were actually perfect timing for a revelation you couldn't have received until this moment? The universe doesn't make mistakes with timing. You are here now, reading these words not by accident but by divine appointment. Your soul has been calling you to this understanding, and finally you are ready to hear. You think it's too late because you're looking at the wrong evidence. You're seeing your bank account, your wrinkles, your empty bed, your silent phone, your unchanged circumstances, and you're concluding that the door is closed. But you're reading the wrong report. The real evidence lives in your imagination, in your capacity to dream, in your ability to feel what it would be like to have what you desire. And that capacity has not diminished with age. If anything, it has deepened, become richer, more textured with wisdom and longing. You think it's too late to begin again, but beginning again is not about going back. It's about going within. And within you, there is no time. Within you, there is only potential, waiting. So let me ask you this. If not now, when? If not you, who? If not from this place of accumulated wisdom and refined desire, then from where? You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be to receive what you're about to receive. The beginning you seek is not behind you. It's beneath you, deeper than memory, older than history, closer than your next breath. You think it's too late to begin again. But what if it's actually the perfect time to begin? Let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret was 64 when she found herself sitting in a lawyer's office signing divorce papers. 37 years of marriage dissolved on a Tuesday afternoon in November. Her husband had left for a younger woman, taking half of everything they'd built together. But it wasn't the money that broke her. It wasn't even the betrayal. It was the voice in her head that whispered, "Now what? You're 64, Margaret. Who's going to want you now? Your best years are gone. You should have seen this coming. You should have prepared. You should have left first." That voice followed her home to an empty house that echoed with decades of shared memories. It sat with her at the kitchen table where she'd served thousands of dinners. It climbed into bed with her at night, whispering its cruel mathematics: too old, too late, too damaged, too much history. For months, Margaret lived in that voice. She made small plans for a smaller life. She looked at retirement communities. She considered moving closer to her daughter, becoming the grandmother who babysits and bakes cookies and fades quietly into the background of other people's lives. But something inside her refused to accept this verdict. One evening, while sorting through old photo albums, she found a picture of herself at 25 standing in front of an art gallery in Paris. She'd been backpacking through Europe that summer, before marriage, before children, before responsibility shaped her days. In the photo, she was radiant, alive, her eyes bright with possibility. She'd wanted to be an artist then. She'd filled sketchbooks with drawings, dreamed of having her own gallery, imagined creating beauty that would outlive her. But life had other plans. Marriage came, then children, then decades of supporting other people's dreams, while hers gathered dust in the closet. Looking at that photograph, something stirred in her chest. Not nostalgia, but recognition. The woman in that picture wasn't gone. She was still here, still dreaming, still capable of creating. That night, Margaret did something she hadn't done in decades. She went to the closet and pulled out her old art supplies. Her hands shook as she set up a canvas, but not from age, from anticipation. She began to paint, not the careful, controlled paintings of someone trying to recapture the past, but bold, wild expressions of a woman who had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. She painted her loneliness, her rage, her freedom, her fear, her hope. As she painted, she began to imagine a different story for herself. Not the story of the discarded wife, but the story of the emerging artist. She saw herself in galleries talking to collectors who were moved by her work. She felt the satisfaction of creating something that had never existed before. She heard people saying, "Can you believe she didn't start painting seriously until she was 64? Look what she's created." She painted every evening, losing herself in color and texture and the pure joy of creation. As she painted, she talked to herself differently. Instead of "I'm too old for this," she whispered, "I'm finally ready for this." Instead of "I've wasted so much time," she declared, "every experience has prepared me for this moment." Something began to shift, not just in her art, but in her entire presence. Her daughter noticed it first. "Mom, you look different. You look alive." Margaret began to dress differently, carry herself differently, speak differently. She enrolled in art classes, not as a beginner, but as someone who was ready to refine her natural gifts. She joined artist communities online, sharing her work with strangers who saw only the art, not the age of the artist. And then the miracle began to unfold. A local coffee shop owner saw her work and asked if she'd like to display some pieces. The first painting sold within a week, then another. Then gallery owners began to notice. Art collectors started following her work. Magazine articles began featuring her as an example of late-blooming creativity. But the real transformation wasn't in the external recognition. It was in Margaret herself. She had awakened from the trance of too late and stepped into the truth of right on time. 1 year after signing those divorce papers, Margaret stood in her own art gallery, surrounded by friends and strangers, all celebrating the opening of her first solo exhibition. The title of the show was Late Bloomer, but Margaret knew better. She wasn't blooming late. She was blooming exactly when she was meant to bloom. A young woman approached her that evening, tears in her eyes. "I'm 28, she said, and I've been telling myself I'm too old to change careers, too late to follow my dreams. But looking at your paintings, feeling the life in them, you've given me permission to begin." Margaret smiled, understanding then that her art wasn't just her own redemption. It was a message to everyone who thought it was too late. The only time that matters is now, and now is always the perfect time to become who you were meant to be. But Margaret's story isn't unique, it's universal. There was David, who at 52 had never been married, convinced that love had passed him by. He'd attended so many friends' weddings, been the best man so many times, that he'd internalized the story of the perpetual bachelor. But when he finally stopped looking for love and started assuming he was loved, when he began to feel what it would be like to come home to someone who cherished him, love found him in the most unexpected place, a bookstore on a rainy Thursday afternoon. She was 61, a widow who had also believed her heart's chapter was closed. Their wedding was 6 months later, and their honeymoon lasted 3 weeks because they had nothing but time and everything to celebrate. There was Carmen, who at 45 had been climbing corporate ladders her entire adult life, always reaching for the next promotion, the next salary increase, the next level of recognition. But inside, she was dying. Her real dream was to teach children, to make a difference in young lives, to wake up excited about her work. Everyone told her she was crazy to walk away from a 6-figure salary. Her parents reminded her about her mortgage, her retirement savings, her practical responsibilities. But something inside her whispered a different truth. You're not walking away from success. You're walking toward significance. She took the teaching position at half her previous salary and discovered that abundance isn't always measured in dollars. The letters from her students, the breakthroughs she witnessed, the knowledge that she was shaping futures, this was wealth beyond anything she'd ever experienced in corporate conference rooms. Each of these people faced the same whisper you've been hearing, "It's too late." But they discovered what you're about to discover. That voice is a liar. The voice that says it's too late is not your inner wisdom. It's your inner critic, trained by a world that profits from your limitation, that needs you to stay small, predictable, manageable. But you are not manageable. You are magnificent, and magnificent doesn't have an expiration date. You think it's too late because you've been measuring your life by the wrong standard. You've been counting what you call years, but consciousness doesn't age. You've been mourning what you call lost time, but the eternal doesn't recognize time. You've been fearing what you call endings, but infinite potential knows no conclusion. The part of you that dreams, that imagines, that desires, this part of you is as young today as it was when you were 5 years old, standing in your backyard, arms spread wide, absolutely certain you could fly if you just believed hard enough. That certainty didn't disappear because you grew older. It got buried under layers of practical thinking and realistic expectations and age-appropriate behavior. But it's still there, waiting beneath the accumulated debris of years, still certain, still ready to soar. What you call age is simply the accumulation of assumptions about limitation. Every wrinkle tells a story of a moment when you believed time was working against you instead of for you. Every ache carries the memory of when you decided your body was failing instead of adapting. Every hesitation holds the echo of someone telling you to act your age, settle down, be realistic. But none of these stories are law. They are choices. And what has been chosen can be chosen again, differently. The woman who looks in the mirror and sees only age is creating more age. The man who counts his years as losses is manufacturing more loss. The person who assumes their best days are behind them is ensuring their worst days are ahead of them. But this same power that creates aging can create renewal. This same mind that produces limitation can generate limitless possibility. You see, Neville taught that what you think of as time is actually consciousness in motion. What you experience as aging is simply consciousness becoming more densely packed with beliefs about decline. What you fear as endings are opportunities for the most magnificent beginnings. Every moment you are choosing which version of yourself to experience, not through effort or willpower, but through assumption, through the stories you tell yourself about what's possible, about what you deserve, about what happens to people your age and your circumstances with your history. The secret is this: your history has no power over your possibility except the power you give it through your assumptions. The same imagination that created your sense of being too late can create your sense of being perfectly timed. The same mind that convinced you doors were closing can reveal that they were never closed at all. You were simply looking at walls and calling them doors. Right now, in this moment, you can assume something different, not about your circumstances, they will change in their own time, but about yourself, about your potential, about what's available to you. You can assume that your desires are not accidents, but appointments, that your longings are not mistakes, but messengers, that your dreams are not foolish fantasies, but glimpses of your destiny. When you assume this, when you feel it is true rather than think it is possibility, your entire energy shifts. You stop radiating the frequency of missed opportunity and start emanating the signal of perfect timing. And the world responds to frequency, not to history. The universe doesn't see your birth certificate. It doesn't calculate your age or evaluate your resume or judge your past decisions. It simply responds to who you are being now in this moment in your consciousness. If you are being someone who believes it's too late, reality will offer you evidence of lateness. If you are being someone who knows it's the perfect time, life will demonstrate perfect timing. This is not metaphor, this is mechanics. Every person, every opportunity, every circumstance in your life is responding to the tone of your inner conversations. When you wake up each morning saying, "Another day closer to the end," you are broadcasting a signal that attracts endings. When you look at yourself and think, "I should have done this years ago," you are sending out an invitation for regret. But when you rise with the assumption that today offers exactly what you need for your next breakthrough, when you see yourself as someone whose time has come rather than someone whose time has passed, you begin attracting the evidence of this truth. The people who seem to find love at any age, who launch successful careers in their 60s, who discover their calling after decades of searching, they are not special exceptions to the rule. They are living demonstrations of the rule. Assumption creates reality. They assumed their desires were still valid. They assumed their dreams were still viable. They assumed their hearts were still capable of being filled, their minds still capable of creating, their bodies still capable of supporting their vision. An assumption, when persistent, hardens into fact. But here's what most people miss. You don't need to believe this with your rational mind. Your rational mind has been collecting evidence of limitation for years. It has charts and graphs and statistics about people your age, in your situation, with your background. Your rational mind is not the creative power. Your imagination is. And your imagination doesn't argue with possibility. It simply creates what you consistently give your attention to, what you repeatedly feel as real, what you persistently assume to be true. So when the voice in your head whispers, "You're too old for this," you don't need to argue with it. You don't need to convince it. You simply turn your attention elsewhere, to the feeling of what it would be like to have what you desire, regardless of your age. You imagine the congratulations, the celebration, the sense of fulfillment. You feel what it's like to be living your dream, creating your vision, experiencing your desire. You assume the feeling of success, of love, of purpose, of joy. And you return to this feeling again and again until it becomes more familiar than your fears, more real than your doubts, more convincing than the voice that says it's too late. This is not positive thinking. This is creative living. Positive thinking tries to cover up negative beliefs with cheerful thoughts. Creative living replaces limiting assumptions with expanded possibilities. Positive thinking says maybe it's not too late. Creative living says it's the perfect time and feels this as fact. The difference is not in the words, but in the conviction, not in the hope, but in the knowing, not in the trying, but in the being. When you truly know something, you don't need to convince anyone else of it. You don't need to prove it or defend it or explain it. You simply live from it, and your life becomes the evidence. This is why some people seem to age backwards, while others age forward. This is why some people become more beautiful, more vibrant, more alive as years pass, while others seem to diminish. This is why some people use their accumulated experience as a springboard to greater heights, while others use it as proof of limitation. It's not about genetics or luck or external circumstances. It's about assumptions. It's about which story they're telling themselves about what time means, what age means, what possibility means at any stage of life. And the person who assumes that wisdom comes with age becomes wiser. The person who assumes that beauty deepens with experience becomes more beautiful. The person who assumes that their most important work is still ahead of them continues creating magnificent contributions to the world. But the person who assumes that decline is inevitable declines. The person who assumes that opportunities decrease with age experiences fewer opportunities. The person who assumes that dreams have expiration dates watches their dreams fade. Not because this is law, but because this is what they're creating with their assumptions. And if they can create limitation with their assumptions, you can create expansion with yours. You can assume that every year makes you more ready, not less ready. You can assume that every experience has been preparing you for something magnificent. You can assume that your desires are not early or late, but precisely timed for perfect unfolding. When you make these assumptions and persist in them, when you feel them as true rather than think them as concepts, reality reorganizes itself around your conviction. The right people appear, the right opportunities emerge, the right circumstances align, not through coincidence, but through correspondence, the outer world corresponding to your inner state. But you must persist through appearances, because appearances will initially contradict your assumptions. The mirror will still show the same face. The calendar will still display the same date. The circumstances will still look the same. This is the test. Will you believe the outer evidence, or will you trust the inner knowing? Will you let appearances convince you that nothing has changed? Or will you know that everything is changing in the invisible realm before it becomes visible in the physical realm? This is where most people give up. They assume something new for a day, a week, maybe a month, but when they don't see immediate external evidence, they conclude it's not working. They return to their old assumptions, their familiar limitations, their comfortable complaints about being too late. But the ones who persist, who continue to assume their expanded possibility, even when appearances suggest otherwise, these are the ones who experience what others call miracles. They are not miracles. They are natural results of natural laws. The law that consciousness creates reality. The law that assumption becomes experience. The law that what you persistently feel as true must eventually manifest as fact. Age cannot violate this law. Time cannot override this law. History cannot cancel this law. These are just concepts, constructs of the thinking mind. But the law operates in consciousness, where time is fluid, age is irrelevant, and possibility is infinite. This is why children manifest so easily. Not because they're younger, but because they haven't yet been taught that certain things are impossible at certain ages, in certain circumstances, with certain limitations. But you can return to that state, not by becoming childish, but by becoming childlike in your willingness to assume the impossible, to believe in the invisible, to persist in the face of contradiction. The child in you who once believed you could fly didn't disappear. It got quiet, subdued by voices that insisted on limitation, but it's still there, still believing, still ready to soar. And now, with the wisdom of years and the clarity of accumulated experience, you can choose which voice to believe. The voice that says it's too late, or the voice that whispers it's the perfect time. The choice is always yours, and the choice is always now. Now, I want you to close your eyes and breathe with me. Not the shallow breathing of someone who's in a hurry, not the tight breathing of someone who's afraid, but the deep, luxurious breathing of someone who has all the time in the world, because you do. You have this moment, and this moment is where all creation happens. Feel your body settling into this space, letting go of the rush, the urgency, the voice that says you should be doing something else, should be somewhere else, should be someone else by now. You are exactly where you need to be. As you breathe, I want you to imagine that with each exhale, you're releasing every assumption about timing that has ever limited you, every too late, every missed chance, every should have done this years ago. Let it flow out of you like old air that no longer serves. And with each inhale, breathe in possibility, breathe in perfect timing, breathe in the truth that your most magnificent chapter is about to begin. Now, in this state of openness, I want you to travel with me to a scene, not a scene from your past, not a scene from someone else's life, but a scene from your fulfilled future, a future that feels so real, so natural, so inevitable that it's as if it's already happened. See yourself living the life you've been longing for, but see yourself as you are now, not as you think you need to become. Don't imagine yourself younger or different. Imagine yourself exactly as you are, but fully alive, fully expressed, fully engaged with your purpose. What does this look like for you? Perhaps you see yourself in a new career, one that fills you with purpose rather than just paying the bills. You're walking into work each day with energy, with enthusiasm, with the deep satisfaction of knowing you're making a difference. Your colleagues respect your experience, value your wisdom, seek your guidance. You're not the oldest person in the room trying to prove you belong. You're the seasoned professional who brings depth and perspective that others admire. Feel what it's like to wake up excited about your work. Feel the satisfaction of using skills you'd forgotten you had, of solving problems with the wisdom that only comes from lived experience. Hear people saying, "We need someone like you. You bring something no one else can offer." Or perhaps you see yourself in love, real love, mature love, love that appreciates exactly who you are right now. You're not dating frantically, trying to prove you're still attractive or relevant. You're simply being yourself, and someone wonderful is choosing you because of who you've become, not in spite of it. Feel the warmth of being truly seen by someone who values your history because it shaped you into the person they cherish. Feel the joy of building something new together while honoring all that you've both learned from life. This isn't the desperate love of youth that fears separation. This is the confident love of souls who found each other at exactly the right time. Maybe you see yourself creating something beautiful: art, music, writing, a garden, a business, a movement. Your hands are working with the skill of someone who's had time to develop mastery, guided by the vision of someone who's had time to develop wisdom. You're not competing with younger creators. You're offering something they cannot. The perspective of someone who's lived, who's learned, who's ready to pour a lifetime of understanding into something magnificent. Feel the deep satisfaction of creating, not from desperation, but from overflow. Not because you have to prove something, but because you have something to give. Not because you're running out of time, but because you're finally ready to offer your gift to the world. Or perhaps you see yourself traveling, exploring, adventuring. You're not the hurried tourist trying to see everything quickly. You're the wise traveler who can appreciate nuance, who can sit in a cafe in Paris or on a beach in Bali and truly absorb the experience. You have the resources, the time, the confidence to go where your heart calls you. Feel the freedom of someone who's earned the right to choose their own adventures. Feel the joy of discovering new places with the wisdom to truly appreciate them. You're not trying to find yourself through travel. You know who you are, and you're sharing that self with the world. Whatever scene you're imagining, feel yourself fully in it. This is not a fantasy. This is a memory from your future, a future that's already been created in consciousness and is now making its way into physical form. Notice how natural it feels. Notice that you're not struggling or striving in this scene. You're simply being who you've become, living what you've created, enjoying what you've assumed into existence. Notice the people around you in this scene. They're not looking at you with pity or concern about your age. They're seeing you as someone who's exactly where they belong, doing exactly what they're meant to do. Some of them are even saying things like, "I admire your courage to start something new at this stage of life," or "You're inspiring me to follow my dreams too," or "You prove it's never too late to live authentically." Feel how that recognition feels in your body. Feel the validation of knowing that your choice to begin again has not only transformed your life, but has given others permission to transform theirs. Now, I want you to make this scene even more vivid. Add sounds, the conversation, the laughter, the music, the applause. Add textures, the fabric of your clothes, the surface of your desk, the hand of your beloved, the tools of your trade. Add scents, the flowers in your garden, the coffee in your favorite cafe, the ocean breeze on your face. Make it so real that your body believes it's happening now. Because in consciousness, it is happening now. In the realm where all creation begins, this is your present reality. Feel gratitude for this reality, not future gratitude for something you hope will happen, but present gratitude for what is already done in consciousness. Thank the universe for the perfect timing that brought you to this moment of beginning. Thank yourself for having the courage to start again. Thank everyone who said it was too late, because their doubt made your faith stronger. Feel how peaceful this is. You're not anxious about making it happen. You know it's already happening. You're not worried about timing. You know the timing is perfect. You're not concerned about whether you deserve it. You know you do, simply because you exist, simply because you desire it, simply because consciousness doesn't make mistakes. Now, from this place of fulfillment, I want you to speak to your present self. Speak with the authority of someone who has already achieved what you're longing for. What would this future self say to you right now? Perhaps they'd say, stop counting the years and start counting the possibilities. Stop looking back and start looking within. Stop asking if it's too late and start declaring that it's the perfect time. Or maybe they'd say, every day you waited brought you closer to being ready. Every experience you thought was a detour was actually preparation. Every disappointment was making space for something better. Every ending was creating room for a new beginning. Listen to that voice. It's not coming from hope or wishful thinking. It's coming from knowledge, from the part of you that has already walked this path, already lived this transformation, already proven that it's never too late to begin again. Feel the certainty in that voice. Feel the peace. Feel the joy of someone who knows that timing is perfect when you decide it is, that readiness comes when you choose it, that new beginnings are available in every moment. Now, I want you to bring this certainty back with you. As you prepare to open your eyes, carry this feeling with you. This is not something you imagined. This is something you remembered, not from the past, but from the future that's already created and waiting for you to step into it. When you open your eyes, you're not the same person who closed them. You're someone who knows, not thinks or hopes or believes, but knows that their most magnificent beginning is now. You're someone who's tasted the fulfillment and can no longer be convinced it's impossible. You're someone who's felt the perfect timing and can no longer believe it's too late. You're someone who's experienced the joy of living from the end and can no longer settle for living from the beginning. Open your eyes when you're ready, but keep this feeling alive in your chest, this knowing alive in your bones, this certainty alive in your very being. You are not the same person you were 5 minutes ago. You are the person who knows it's time to begin again. And now everything in your life will begin to shift to match this knowing. But even as you felt that truth, even as you tasted that possibility, I know the voice is starting to whisper again. That was beautiful, but be realistic. Look at your situation. Look at your age. Look at your limitations. This kind of transformation happens to other people, not to people like you. This voice is not your friend. This voice is not your wisdom. This voice is not even yours. It's a collection of every limitation you've ever been taught, every doubt you've ever absorbed, every fear you've inherited from a world that profits from your smallness. And today you stop listening to it, not by fighting it. Fighting it only makes it stronger, but by starving it, by withdrawing your attention from its fearful predictions and placing your attention on the truth you just experienced. The voice says, "You're too old." But you remember the feeling of being exactly the right age for your next chapter, seasoned enough to appreciate it, wise enough to handle it, ready enough to receive it. The voice says, "You've missed your chance." But you felt what it's like to be living your chance, not as someone desperate to catch up, but as someone grateful to finally be ready. The voice says, "People will think you're foolish," but you experience the respect, the admiration, the inspiration that flows towards someone brave enough to begin again. Every fear this voice offers has already been answered by the truth you felt in that scene. Not answered with arguments or logic, but answered with experience, with feeling, with the cellular knowing that comes when you've lived something in consciousness. But let me address the specific fears that arise when people your age dare to dream again. What if I fail? Failure is a concept invented by people who never learned that every so-called failure is simply information, redirection, course correction. You've already survived every challenge life has thrown at you. You're more resilient now than you were at 20. You know how to recover, how to adapt, how to find strength you didn't know you had. Besides, the only real failure is the failure to try, the failure to honor your desires, the failure to live authentically. Everything else is just learning. What if people judge me? People are going to judge you regardless of what you do. If you stay safe and small, they'll judge you for wasting your potential. If you dare to grow and expand, they'll judge you for not acting your age. The judgment is about them, not about you. It reveals their own fears about their own unused possibilities. The people whose opinions matter, the people who love you, respect you, want the best for you, these people will celebrate your courage to live authentically. And the people who criticize your growth, they're usually the ones who gave up on their own dreams and need you to stay stuck to make their resignation feel normal. What if I'm not good enough? You've been good enough your entire life, good enough to survive every challenge, to love the people you've loved, to contribute what you've contributed, to learn what you've learned. And now you're even more good enough. You have wisdom, experience, perspective that you didn't have when you were younger. Besides, good enough is not a prerequisite for beginning. Good enough is what you become through beginning. Every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once an amateur. The only difference between them and the people who never mastered anything is that they began despite not feeling ready. What if it's too hard? Everything worthwhile requires some effort. But effort is not the same as struggle. Effort is energy moving towards something you want. Struggle is energy fighting against something you don't want. When you're aligned with your purpose, when you're moving towards something that genuinely excites you, the effort feels good. It feels like coming alive rather than wearing yourself out. And here's something wonderful about beginning at your stage of life. You know yourself better now. You know what energizes you and what drains you. You can choose paths that work with your natural rhythms rather than against them. You can be strategic in ways you couldn't be when you were younger. What if I don't have enough time? You have the rest of your life, whether that's 5 years or 50 years. It's enough time to create something meaningful, to experience something beautiful, to become someone you're proud of being. Time is not about quantity, it's about quality. 1 year of living authentically is worth more than 10 years of existing inauthentically. 1 month of pursuing your dreams is more valuable than a lifetime of wondering what if. What if my body can't handle it? Your body is more capable than you think, especially when it's serving something that excites you. Energy follows enthusiasm. Vitality flows toward vision. When you're living from passion rather than obligation, when you're moving toward joy rather than away from fear, your body responds with strength you forgot you had. It's not age that limits the body, it's the assumption of limitation. What if I don't have the resources? Resources appear when purpose is clear, not because the universe rewards good intentions, but because clarity of desire creates clarity of vision. When you know exactly what you want, you begin to see opportunities that were always there but invisible to someone who wasn't looking for them. Besides, you have resources now that you didn't have when you were younger. You have wisdom about what works and what doesn't. You have connections built over decades. You have skills refined through experience. You have patience earned through living. What if it's selfish to start over now? There is nothing selfish about becoming who you were meant to be. There is nothing selfish about modeling courage for your children, your friends, your community. There is nothing selfish about refusing to waste the gifts you were given. The most generous thing you can do is live authentically. When you honor your desires, you give others permission to honor theirs. When you prove it's not too late for you, you prove it's not too late for anyone. Every person who dares to begin again becomes a beacon of possibility for everyone who thought their chance had passed. But here's the deepest resistance, the one that whispers beneath all the others. What if I'm wrong about this? What if I'm deluding myself? What if this is just wishful thinking masquerading as wisdom? Listen carefully. The fact that you desire something is proof that it's possible for you. Not eventually, not conditionally, not if you become worthy enough, but now as you are, because you are. Desire is not random. It's not accidental. It's not cruel cosmic humor that gives you longings you cannot fulfill. Desire is the creative force announcing its intention to express through you. The oak tree doesn't question whether it's too late to grow taller. The river doesn't wonder if it's too old to find new pathways to the sea. The sun doesn't doubt whether it has the right to shine today because it shone yesterday. And you, magnificent, infinite, eternal you don't need permission to become more of who you truly are. The resistance you feel is not evidence that you're moving in the wrong direction. It's evidence that you're moving toward something significant, something that matters, something that will transform not just your life, but everyone whose life you touch. Resistance appears at the threshold of breakthrough. It's the guardian at the gate, testing whether you really want what you say you want, whether you're ready to receive what you've been asking for. Don't let resistance convince you to turn back. Let it confirm that you're heading towards something worth having. The voice that says it's too late is not your inner wisdom speaking. Your inner wisdom knows that every moment is the perfect moment for awakening, for beginning, for transformation. Your inner wisdom knows that you are not bound by time, but are the creator of your experience within time. So when the voice whispers its familiar warnings, smile and say, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm not going backward. I'm not staying the same. I'm moving forward into the life that's been waiting for me." And then place your attention back on the feeling, back on the scene, back on the truth of who you're becoming, because that truth is stronger than any resistance. That truth is older than any fear. That truth is more real than any current circumstance. You felt it, you tasted it, you experienced it, and what has been experienced in consciousness cannot be unexperienced. It will continue to draw you forward until it becomes your lived reality. The resistance is temporary. The truth is eternal. Choose what is eternal. Now that you've tasted the truth and dismissed the resistance, I want you to expand deeper into this new reality, not as someone trying to create something new, but as someone remembering something that has always been true. You are not becoming someone different. You are uncovering who you have always been beneath the layers of accumulated assumptions about limitation. Think of it this way. A sculptor doesn't create a statue. They reveal the form that was always waiting within the marble. They simply remove what doesn't belong, what obscures the natural beauty that was always there. This is what you're doing now. You're not creating a new life. You're revealing the life that was always possible, always available, always yours. Every assumption about being too late was like a layer of stone hiding your true form. Every belief about missed opportunities was like debris covering your natural radiance. Every fear about starting over was like dust on a mirror, making it impossible to see your reflection clearly. But now you're cleaning the mirror. Now you're removing the debris. Now you're chiseling away everything that isn't authentically you. And what emerges is not a new person, but the person you were always meant to be, finally free to express, finally ready to flourish, finally willing to claim the life that has been waiting patiently for your acceptance. Feel into this truth. Your desires didn't come to torment you. They came to guide you. They are not impossible dreams, but inevitable destinations. They are not cruel reminders of what you can't have, but gentle invitations to what you can become. The yearning you feel for something different, something more, something truer, this yearning is not evidence of dissatisfaction with your current life. It's evidence of your soul's GPS, constantly calibrating, constantly directing you toward your highest expression. And your soul doesn't recognize age. Your soul doesn't calculate years. Your soul only knows potential, and potential is always present tense. So, let's expand the vision. Let's deepen the experience. Let's make this new reality so vivid, so natural, so familiar that your current circumstances begin to feel like the temporary state they actually are. See yourself 3 months from now, living from this truth. You wake up each morning not with the weight of years, but with the lightness of possibility. Your first thoughts are not about what you should have done differently, but about what you're excited to experience today. Your mirror reflects not someone apologizing for their age, but someone celebrating their readiness. Your calendar holds not obligations that drain you, but appointments that energize you. Your conversations are not about what you used to do, but about what you're creating now. Feel how different this energy is. Feel how it radiates from you and touches everyone you encounter. Your children see a parent who models courage rather than resignation. Your friends see someone who inspires them to examine their own assumptions about what's possible. Strangers sense someone who has remembered something important, something they want to remember too. Now expand the vision to 6 months. You're not just starting something new, you're thriving in it. You've moved past the awkward beginner phase into the confident creator phase. You know what you're doing, not because you've been doing it for decades, but because you're fully present to what you're doing now. People seek your advice, not because you're the oldest person in the room, but because you bring a unique combination of fresh enthusiasm and deep wisdom. You offer perspectives that could only come from someone who has lived fully and is now choosing to live even more fully. You've discovered something wonderful. Beginning again doesn't mean starting from zero. It means starting from everything you've learned, everything you've experienced, everything you've become, and applying all of that to something that finally matches your authentic desires. Feel the satisfaction of this. Feel the joy of finally using your gifts in service of something that matters to you. Feel the peace of no longer apologizing for taking up space in the world, but instead claiming the space that has always been yours. Expand the vision to 1 year from now. You're not just living your new life, you're mastering it. But mastery at this stage of life is different from mastery in youth. It's not about conquering or competing. It's about flowing, contributing, expressing the fullness of who you've become. You've become someone others look to as an example of what's possible, not because you achieved something extraordinary by conventional standards, but because you proved that it's never too late to honor your truth, to follow your joy, to become more yourself. People say things like, I want to be like them when I grow up, even if they're younger than you, because you've grown up in the truest sense. You've grown into yourself, grown into your power, grown into your purpose. Now let's expand even further. 5 years from now, you're not the same person who once thought it was too late. That person feels like a character from a story you once read, someone you can barely remember being. You've created things you never imagined you could create. You've touched lives you never expected to touch. You've experienced joys you didn't know were available to you. You've become someone you genuinely admire, someone you're proud to be. But here's the most beautiful part. It all feels completely natural. Not like you accomplished something impossible, but like you simply stopped believing in the impossible. Not like you became extraordinary, but like you stopped pretending to be ordinary. Looking back, you can see how perfectly everything unfolded, how every delay was actually perfect timing, how every detour led you exactly where you needed to be, how every experience, even the painful ones, prepared you for this chapter of your life. You understand now that there are no coincidences, no accidents, no missed opportunities. There is only the eternal dance of consciousness expressing itself through your unique perspective at the perfect pace, in the perfect sequence, for the perfect purpose. And you're not done. Even in this expanded vision, you're not done growing, creating, becoming, because consciousness is infinite and you are consciousness individualized. There is no limit to how much life you can live, how much love you can experience, how much beauty you can create. Feel this truth in your body. Feel the unlimited nature of your being. Feel the ageless quality of your essence. Feel the timeless potential that is your birthright. You are not a body aging through time. You are eternal consciousness playing in time, creating through time, expressing through time. And from this perspective, every moment is the perfect moment to begin, to expand, to become more of who you truly are. This is not metaphor. This is not philosophy. This is the literal truth of your existence. And the more you align with this truth, the more your experience reflects it. Your cells respond to this truth by regenerating with more vitality. Your mind responds by generating more creative solutions. Your heart responds by attracting more love. Your life responds by presenting more opportunities. Because you're no longer broadcasting the frequency of limitation. You're no longer emanating the signal of too late. You're radiating pure possibility, infinite potential, perfect timing. And the universe responds to frequency, always. Feel yourself established in this new frequency now. Feel it as your natural state, not something you have to maintain through effort, but something you return to through remembrance. This is who you are when you remove all the false beliefs about time and age and possibility. This is your natural state when you stop arguing with your desires and start honoring them. This is your authentic expression when you stop apologizing for wanting more and start celebrating your right to have it. From this expanded state, your current circumstances no longer look permanent. They look temporary, transitional, like the last scene of an old movie before the new one begins. And you're ready for the new movie to begin. You're not just ready, you're eager, excited, alive with anticipation for what's about to unfold. Because you know now, you don't hope or believe or wish, you know. It's not too late, it's the perfect time. And everything you've ever wanted is on its way to you, responding to this new frequency, this expanded state, this unshakable knowing. You are not the same person who thought it was too late. You are the person who knows it's time to begin. But knowing is not enough. Understanding is not enough. Believing is not enough. You must feel your way into this new reality. You must embody this truth so completely that it becomes more real to you than what your eyes currently see, more convincing than what your circumstances currently show, more natural than the life you've been living. Feeling is the secret. Not thinking, not visualizing, not affirming, feeling. When you feel something as real, your entire nervous system accepts it as fact. Your body begins preparing for this new reality. Your energy begins attracting the elements necessary to support this reality. Your consciousness begins reorganizing your entire experience around this reality. But feeling is not emotion. Emotion is temporary, reactive, dependent on external circumstances. Feeling is deeper than emotion. Feeling is the tone of consciousness, the frequency of being, the vibrational signature that announces who you are to the universe. So I want you to feel your way into the person you saw in that expanded vision. Not feel sorry for who you've been or feel excited about who you might become, but feel what it's like to be who you truly are right now. Beneath all the assumptions about limitation. Feel the relief of no longer carrying the weight of too late. Feel how light you are when you release the burden of regret, the pressure of time, the anxiety about missed opportunities. Breathe into this lightness. Let it fill your chest, relax your shoulders, soften your face. This is what you feel like when you're not fighting time, when you're not resisting change, when you're not apologizing for your desires. Now feel the excitement, not the frantic excitement of someone desperately chasing something they might not get, but the calm excitement of someone who knows something wonderful is unfolding. The excitement of recognition, of coming home to yourself, of finally being ready to receive what has been waiting for you. This excitement doesn't make you restless or anxious. It makes you more present, more alive, more grateful for this moment, because you know this moment is the beginning of everything you've been seeking. Feel the confidence, not the arrogant confidence of someone trying to prove something, but the quiet confidence of someone who has nothing to prove because they know who they are. The confidence that comes from wisdom, from experience, from having survived everything life has thrown at you and emerged stronger. This confidence doesn't need external validation. It doesn't depend on other people's approval or recognition. It comes from the deep knowing that you are exactly who you're supposed to be, exactly where you're supposed to be, exactly when you're supposed to be here. Feel the gratitude. Gratitude for every experience that brought you to this moment of readiness. Gratitude for every delay that gave you time to develop the wisdom you needed. Gratitude for every disappointment that made space for something better. Gratitude for every ending that made room for a new beginning. This gratitude is not about being thankful for what you don't have yet. This is gratitude for what is already done in consciousness, already created in the invisible realm, already on its way to manifestation in the physical world. Feel the love. Love for yourself exactly as you are, exactly where you are. Love for the journey that brought you here. Love for the dreams that never left you. Love for the courage it's taking to begin again. Love for the wisdom to know that beginning again is not admission of failure, but recognition of growth. This love is not conditional. It doesn't depend on achieving anything or becoming anyone different. It's the love that consciousness has for its own expression, the love that the creative force has for its own creation. Feel the peace of someone who has stopped fighting reality and started creating with it. The peace of someone who has stopped counting years and started counting possibilities. The peace of someone who has stopped explaining themselves and started expressing themselves. This peace doesn't come from having everything figured out. It comes from trusting that everything is figuring itself out through you, as you, for you. Now, from this place of feeling relief, excitement, confidence, gratitude, love, peace, I want you to speak to yourself, not with your thinking mind, but with your feeling heart. What would you say to yourself from this place of complete acceptance and infinite possibility? Maybe you'd say, I love you exactly as you are, and I'm so excited about who you're becoming. Or perhaps, thank you for never giving up on our dreams. Thank you for bringing us to this moment of readiness. Or maybe it's safe to want what you want. It's safe to start again. It's safe to be magnificent. Whatever wants to be said, let it be said from this place of pure feeling, pure acceptance, pure love. And as you speak these words to yourself, notice how they land in your body. Notice how they settle into your nervous system. Notice how they feel more true than any voice that ever told you it was too late. This is your true voice. This is the voice of your authentic self, your unlimited self, your eternal self. This is the voice that speaks from wisdom rather than fear, from possibility rather than limitation, from love rather than judgment. And this voice is always available to you. Not just in this moment, but in every moment. When doubt creeps in, when fear whispers its warnings, when the world tries to convince you that you're too old, too late, too much, this voice is there ready to remind you of the truth. You are not too late. You are right on time. You are exactly where you need to be to receive exactly what you've been seeking. Feel this truth. Don't think it, don't analyze it, don't question it. Feel it as the most natural thing in the world, because it is. You are eternal consciousness having a temporary human experience. And consciousness is always ready to expand, always ready to express more fully, always ready to create something beautiful and meaningful and true. There is no expiration date on possibility. There is no deadline on dreams. There is no age limit on authentic expression. Feel yourself as this unlimited being, temporarily playing in the realm of time and space, ready now to play more boldly, more joyfully, more authentically than ever before. This feeling, this knowing, this certainty, this unshakable conviction, this is your natural state. This is who you are when you remove all the false beliefs about limitation. This is your authentic frequency, your true vibration, your divine inheritance. And as you maintain this feeling, as you return to it again and again throughout your days, everything in your external world will begin to shift to match it. Not because you're trying to make something happen, but because you're allowing what has already happened in consciousness to make itself known in form. Feel your way into the life you've always wanted. Feel your way into the person you've always been beneath the fear. Feel your way into the future that's been waiting patiently for your acceptance. And know that feeling this deeply, this authentically, this consistently, is not just preparation for change, it is change. And so we come to the moment of choice, not the choice between young and old, because that choice was never yours to make. Not the choice between past and future, because both exist only in your mind. But the choice between limitation and possibility, between fear and love, between the story of too late and the truth of perfect timing. This choice is yours. This choice is now. This choice changes everything. In 6 months from today, you will be 6 months older. This is fact. But who you will be in 6 months, how you will feel in 6 months, what you will be creating and experiencing and becoming in 6 months, this is entirely up to the choice you make right now. You can choose to spend the next 6 months continuing to believe it's too late, collecting more evidence of limitation, rehearsing the story of missed opportunities. And in 6 months, you will be 6 months older and no closer to the life you truly want. Or you can choose to spend the next 6 months living from the end, feeling your way into the reality you desire, assuming the truth of your unlimited potential. And in 6 months, you will be 6 months older and 6 months deeper into the most magnificent chapter of your life. The time will pass either way. The question is, who will you be when it does? You have everything you need to make this transformation. You don't need more time. You have this moment, and this moment is where all creation happens. You don't need more resources. Consciousness is the only resource, and consciousness is infinite. You don't need more worthiness. You were born worthy, and nothing you've done or failed to do has changed that fundamental truth. You don't need permission from anyone to begin again. You don't need approval from the world to honor your desires. You don't need validation from others to know that your dreams are valid. The only permission you need is the permission you give yourself. The only approval you need is your own. The only validation required is the validation that comes from feeling your dreams as already fulfilled in consciousness. But I want to be clear about something. This is not about positive thinking or forced optimism or pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is about recognizing what has always been true but hidden beneath layers of false assumptions. You are not trying to become something you're not. You are remembering something you are. You are not creating new possibilities. You are uncovering possibilities that have always existed. You are not changing the fundamental nature of reality. You are aligning with the fundamental nature of reality, which is unlimited, eternal, infinitely creative consciousness. And you are that consciousness, individualized, personalized, expressed through your unique perspective and desires and gifts. From this understanding, beginning again is not an act of desperation. It's an act of recognition. It's consciousness recognizing its own unlimited nature and refusing to be contained by arbitrary limitations about age, timing, or worthiness. So here is what I want you to do in the days and weeks ahead. Each morning, as you wake, before you check the time or the calendar or the news, before you think about your age or your circumstances or your challenges, I want you to return to the feeling you experienced today, the feeling of perfect timing, unlimited possibility, infinite potential. Let that feeling be the first thing you choose each day, not as something you have to maintain through effort, but as something you remember because it's true. Each evening before you sleep, I want you to review your day, not for evidence of progress or lack thereof, but for moments when you felt aligned with this truth, moments when you acted from possibility rather than limitation, moments when you chose expansion over contraction, moments when you remembered who you really are. And if you can't find such moments, that's perfectly fine. Simply use the quiet time before sleep to feel your way back into the truth, to imagine tomorrow as someone who knows it's the perfect time to begin, to assume the feeling of already being who you're becoming. When doubt arises, and it will arise because that's its job, don't fight it. Simply say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm choosing something different now. And then return your attention to the feeling of fulfilled desire, perfect timing, unlimited potential. When people question your choices, and some will, because your transformation will challenge their own assumptions about what's possible, remember that their questions are not about you. They're about their own fears, their own beliefs about limitation, their own resistance to change. You don't need to convince anyone that it's not too late for you. You only need to live as if it's the perfect time. Your life will become the evidence, your joy will become the proof, your transformation will become the testimony. And here's what will happen. As you consistently choose this new assumption, as you persistently feel your way into this expanded reality, as you repeatedly return to the truth of your unlimited nature, the external world will begin to reorganize itself around your new inner state. Opportunities will appear that seemed impossible before. People will enter your life who support your vision rather than question it. Circumstances will align in ways that seem miraculous, but are actually natural responses to your changed inner climate. Resources will become available. Doors will open. Paths will clear. Not because you've earned them or deserved them or worked hard enough for them, but because this is what happens when consciousness aligns with itself, when desire aligns with assumption, when feeling aligns with truth. But remember, the external changes are not the goal. They are the natural result. The goal is the inner transformation, the return to your authentic self, the remembrance of your true nature. Whether your dreams manifest in 3 months or 3 years, whether your transformation looks exactly like you imagined, or completely different from what you expected, you will have won. Because you will have chosen to live from truth rather than illusion, from possibility rather than limitation, from love rather than fear. You will have proven to yourself that it's never too late to honor your authentic desires, to express your true nature, to become more of who you were always meant to be. And that proof, that knowing, that unshakable certainty, this becomes your gift to everyone whose life you touch. Every person who witnesses your transformation receives permission to examine their own assumptions about timing, age, and possibility. You become a living demonstration that there is no such thing as too late when you're operating from consciousness rather than circumstance, from truth rather than appearance, from feeling rather than fear. So let this be your time. Let this be your moment. Let this be your beginning. Not because you have to prove anything or achieve anything or become anyone different, but because you are ready to stop hiding, ready to stop diminishing, ready to stop apologizing for the magnitude of who you truly are. You are not too late. You are right on time. You are exactly where you need to be to receive exactly what you've been seeking. The universe has been preparing this moment for you as surely as it prepared you for this moment. Every experience, every challenge, every year, every breath has been leading to this understanding, this recognition, this choice. Choose possibility, choose expansion, choose the truth of your unlimited nature. Choose to begin again, not because your old life was wrong, but because your new life is calling. Choose to live from the end, from the place where your desires are already fulfilled, your dreams already realized, your authentic self already fully expressed. Choose to be the person who proves that magnificence has no expiration date, that creativity has no age limit, that love has no deadline. Choose to begin again, and in choosing, become the blessing this world has been waiting for. The time is now. The person is you. The possibility is infinite. It is finished. It is done. And so it is. Begin again. This lecture is close to an end, but you are not here to consume wisdom once. You are here to become it, to let it dissolve into your breath, to let it echo through your morning silence, your evening rituals, your long drives, and your gentle walks. Let this not be a moment, but a rhythm. You do not listen once and expect the world to shift. You listen until the listening becomes you. So revisit it. Let it be your soundtrack. On the train, while folding laundry, as you drift to sleep, you don't need effort, you need exposure. Repeated, loving, conscious exposure to the truth you now choose. And when doubt visits, you won't wrestle it. You'll simply listen this lecture again and realign, because the work isn't over. It's just becoming you. This is your new baseline. This is your new assumption. This is your new atmosphere. And from this atmosphere, your new identity is not attracted. It is inevitable. Now, listen this lecture as often as you can. Live it again. Claim it again. Because the repetition is the reality. And you are already the one who lives in it. It is finished. It is done.